this edition of The Interview, I'm joined by renowned filmmaker Kamal Haasan. Mr. Haasan is all set to launch his political party, and he joins us in this edition. So thank you for making time for WION. And let me begin this interview by asking you, you are a very famous, successful artist, filmmaker, actor. How and when did you come to the idea of joining politics and floating your own organization?
It was in a very nebulous state in the beginning. People said about 5 years back, I guess, that this is the time and I should come. And they've said it even before. About 35 years back, I guess, Mr. MGR had asked me, would you like to join politics? Mr. Kalanger, Mr. Karunanidhi, had also sent me a telegram about 40 years back asking me whether I'd like to be part of DMK. So I have always kept away. It's not that I was apolitical, wanted to be so. I thought my politics can be played outside of electoral politics. And it's a civic duty for everyone to be politically aware as to what is happening. So I thought I'll keep aside. I think the germination of the idea started about 10 years back, when I thought my family, my brother, they were all averse to that idea, because they thought the only way a person could ever enter politics, in Indian politics, is to join the horde and become corrupt, if not fully, partially. I disagreed. I said, you don't have to be. And the point was that even in the film industry, I was practicing not touching black money. And I managed it strictly to some people's chagrin and to great financial loss to myself. But I kept at it, and slowly it became at least fashionable in some parts of the film industry.
But did anyone support you? Your daughters, fine, you have taken the plunge, it's all there. Did anyone support you in your family?
No, yes. My daughters are fully with it. They were only worried that, will you stop being an artist? I said, no, being an artist is not just being the protagonist in a film. So I am an artist, that can't be changed.
So what was that movement or an issue associated with the decision to travel to a different walk of life?
See, I've been running a welfare movement for nearly 39 years now. The idea of converting fans club, which is a sort of a cultural phenomenon for the south of India, or specifically for Andhra, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, now also Kerala. It's not so there. The fan club as an operative, functional organization, yeah, there are fans, loosely knit, but this is not that. Yeah, and it came in the tradition of Mr. MGR and Shivaji, who later used it for their political purpose. I thought I would not be going there, and I disbanded them and made them into a welfare association movement. And in that, we found that even to do social service, politics was an impedance. You had to deal with it, you had to fight with it, and I slowly, from just doing welfare, we started becoming activists. During the time of Mr. MGR and Mr. Karunanidhi, both opposition factions, they allowed us to survive. It is only at the time of Ms. Jayalalitha that when she came, she was a very powerful leader, and she didn't tolerate this kind of activism.
Why do you say that?
She didn't. We suffered it. I mean, it's a personal thing. It's not a general assumption that we come. She didn't like it at all. And we could see that. It's not a direct statement. But then because of the vociferousness, we did face certain things. There were moments when I have to go to her for help because I don't know where the trouble was coming from. It took me a long time to understand it was emanating from a dislike for these kind of voices. By the time I realized it, Vishwarupam was already in trouble. So this is a long ongoing back and forth where I was thinking, well, is that the only way?
And you were continuously toying with the idea.
Toying with the idea, but I wasn't sure because I had a great career going. And why would I leave this and to go there and sort of really rough it out? Should I do it? And I think the decision actually came to me in 2011 or 12 when Vishwarupam. And that is the reason why, without hesitation, we took on the government legally.
That was the turning point.
Yeah, that itself was active politics, if you look at it. People keep saying, because that gives them solace and comfort, that he was silent when she was there. But that's not true, because, I mean, suing the government and winning is not being silent. Just because things spoken in the court are in English, it doesn't mean it won't affect Tamil Nadu. It did affect, and we won the case, and the judge, the government put pressure for another re-ban on the film. After we cleared the ban, we vacated the ban on the film, the case, and they made another judge re-ban the film. And I still waited. At not only loss of face, my release date was gone. My distributors would. My brother and I calculated on the date that we took up the battle, I had already lost about 60 crores. And
you still went ahead?
We still went ahead because I thought this was the right thing to do, and we took the plunge and we did it. And later again, my brother was not very keen. He said, the battle is won, we'll leave it. I said, no, it's only started.
That's where you decided to walk a different path. But coming back to the announcements you had made, sir, you have announced that an application will be launched soon. It's on beta testing. It's a whistleblower application. But do you feel that in this context of the application you are talking about, that respective governments have failed the people of Tamil Nadu when it comes to corruption in public life? That you need an application which acts as a whistleblower?
No, whistleblowing is only the part of the whole spectrum of giving the people a voice. Rather than saying app is very limited. When you say app, it's just an application. When I'm talking about a platform, a digital platform through which it can be to and fro dialogue with the people, facilitate various things. It's got a broad spectrum utility. It's not just an app. App is only one part of it. It's a long-winded explanation which I'll do in January when everything is ready, so that you'll have flow charts and stuff.
So basically you're saying it's just not an application, it does something more than that.
Not only that, that's only one that I'll be introducing.
Get people together.
Yeah. WION is a platform. And it's a digital platform with various versatile points of contact.
But many would say, sir, that it might have the potential to create civic vigilantism.
Not vigilantism, vigil, I would say. Vigilantism somewhat tends to take it to the punitive measure taken over by civic bodies. But that's not what it is. That we'll do in movies. But in real life, I think vigilantism is too much of a pedestrian dream to be put to practice. And when you say vigil, the civil disobedience is vigil. It's not vigilantism. It's keeping and talking and boldly talking to the government, and it's civil within the parameters of law. So that is different from vigilantism. But vigil, people will have its time. The reason why we keep blaming politicians is because we forget that we ourselves are at fault. For example, when there is a large demography, only 40–50% of them would vote. Whatever the numbers say, they say 70% attendance. Okay, but I think large number don't vote.
Mr. Hassan, for past 45 years, the Tamil politics has been divided between two parties. Two very important figures, a successor and one successor in waiting. Do you think that Tamil Nadu is on the cusp or the precipice where there is an opening for a third alternative?
Absolutely, third, fourth and fifth. Because you're only talking about three parties. But I think politics, if there are 2,000 registered parties in India, 2,000 plus, I'm going to be one more addition to that. It's not about space, it's about your intent and your capability to engage the audience with progressive, not only progressive, but productive plans for the people.
Recently, Arvind Kejriwal came to Tamil Nadu. He met you. Was that an invite? Did he want you?
No, he was such a gentleman. He gave me three options on to join them, or work together, or simply do whatever I want, and they'll still give the assistance. I was gracious of him to say that, even before, in my embarrassment, I will sort of drag the conversation further. So that made it very clear as to what their intent was. They visited me on their own, which was very touching for me, because I am in the process of meeting other chief ministers of the state, not only in South. Just for me, it's a educative tool. So he approached and he came to Chennai, which I was quite pleased and honored. And we had a long discussion. And I'm sure that any sensible Indian can have that discussion with Mr. Kejriwal, me, or without Kejriwal or Kamal Haasan. There are dinner table conversations like that going on. One such conversation happened in my dining table when we had lunch.
Basically, he explored an idea. He explored a possibility.
Possibilities. And left the choice to me. It was a gentlemanly agreement that, or even understanding that our pursuit is the same. Building of a state, building of a nation. Taking it to a better place. And hence we are related. Ideology.
But tied to a common cause.
Yeah, tied to a common cause, yes.
You will be the latest entrance in the politics of Tamil Nadu. My question to you is politics losing its sense of equanimity today?
Absolutely. Even not only national, I won't put only BJP as a whipping boy. Why? Everybody, every party is losing its equanimity, and an ear to dialogue or criticism is totally deaf. That ear is not lent at all. Officers get upset about critical analysis, leave alone politicians. Lower echelon officers get offended. Policemen get offended if somebody challenges the thing. Some of them resort, not all of them, some of them resort to direct violence. How dare you, is the thing. And you see common people working in lower level of power, even in private sectors. They think they have something and they shouldn't be challenged. No question should be asked. And that's a bad example. Somebody has said, and it's flowing through the echelons. I mean, the people who directly addressed Gandhi after the partition, people who abused him. They did. And he still continued the dialogue with them. Programs were not cancelled. Meetings were not cancelled. The worst form of criticism is an assassination. That also happened to him.
Of late, you also said that you're not an atheist, but a rationalist. Please elaborate.
Well, the thing is, atheist, if I'm permitted to use the Hindi or the Sanskrit word for
Please
it.
Go ahead.
They say astic and nastic. And the etymology of the word comes from asti and nasti. Nash. And somewhere it's a name given by the Aztec. I'm unwilling to be Christian. I mean, pardon the pun. I'm unwilling to be Christian by the opposition. I will find the name, and I'll find the name that will suit my mindset, and that is being rational. The existence of God or the non-existence of it is only part of the discussion. It's not my primary focus. It's automatically believed that one of the points proven is the non-existence of it. For me, I have no religion, no God. Okay. But that's only part of my mindset. My rationalism comes into any field that I enter. That is rational. And a rational man would only ask for certain proofs. He sort of wouldn't accept an amorphic or vague.
Basically, you're saying that's part of who you are, but that's not who you are.
No. That atheism is a name I refuse because it's not technically correct.
Okay.
Because it's given by somebody else. Rational is good enough because my larger purpose, being rational, is not to only disprove that there's no God. Like Richard Dawkins says, he's a scientist turned, and people say he's a scientist turned rationalist. I don't think it all automatically happens together. And he said, all gods have an expiry date. And people jumped at him and said, how can you say that? And so where is Apollo? Where is Zeus? Who prays to Lord Zeus? And there are many gods here we don't praise. We don't even have temples. 1 or 2 temples exist. And there are gods whose stars are fading. They're not. That will happen. But that doesn't mean the non-existence because another God will...
No, I think you made a fair point. But there's something which really brings me to a question, because you have been talking about the middle path in politics. But when you talk about middle path, Indian politics is today swinging between the caste polarization and Hindutva, hard Hindutva, soft Hindutva. Where do you locate yourself? Your views, your politics?
See, Hindutva is something else. I'm talking about a large demography who call themselves Hindu. It was an umbrella under which you brought Shaivism and Vaishnavism and other forms of worship together for the convenience of the British. Neither our Vedas nor our Tamil scriptures talk about a sect called Hindus. There's nothing called Hindus except it was invented by British and the invaders who came in. It's a large umbrella. You'll have to go to the finer points and let them thrive. I believe in the diversity of various, including rationalism, abject atheism, as they call it. My brother prefers to call himself an atheist, elder brother. He says, Kamal Haasan, if you show him God, he will say, okay, let it be. So let's go ahead with building the nation, I will see to it that God is demolished.
Okay.
Because that's his point of view. And he says that there is one film where I said in a dialogue where somebody asked me, please do not say there is no God. As a protagonist, I didn't say there's no God. I wish there was one.
Okay.
Is the dialogue. So he said, Kamal Haasan almost is ready to wish for a God. I won't even wish for it. If there is one, I'll destroy it. That's my brother's attitude. That is atheism and mine is rationalism.
That's fair enough. Everyone to his own, and that's democracy. And
when you asked about casteism...
And Indian laws, our constitution, our republic, our democratic framework in plural society allows people to have and practice various thoughts. But, you use the word film, and I've been wanting to come back to that.
Digital.
Not digital, sir. National anthem is being played in cinema halls. First it became mandatory by a court ruling, then now it's being reviewed. You are an accomplished artist, filmmaker. Do you think it makes people more patriotic when national anthem is sung before a film is played? How do you view this judgment and the politics around it?
I think it's like a commitment to your nation that cannot be forced. Even marriages cannot be forced. It's a commitment that comes with the mind. See, many years back, I think it was 20 or 40 or 42 years back, I don't remember. I did a Tamil
1960s.
70s. So I did a Tamil film where I think I was 19 or 20 at that time. And I am a student in a college and I'm standing for the national anthem. And a guy next to me is eating peanuts, groundnuts as we call it. And he's having a snack during. I just look at him from the corner of the eyes and then I wait for the anthem to be over and I beat him up.
You
Beat him up in the film. I beat him up in the film. I say, if you don't respect it, don't even stand in this line. That's for a film. In my time, at that time, I think in the 70s, they were playing the national anthem in the theaters. I found people disregard it and go about it because they wanted to catch a bus, go home. It was always after the film. And they wanted to run home and they were trying to beat the crowd. And there was such disrespect. And you can't even blame them because you put a very somber, very important song of the nation in front of people who don't have the time for it. So never take it there. Like, you'll have to give it the importance of how you'll conduct a VIP meeting.
You know, Mr. Hassan, you invited a lot of comments on a statement you made on Hindu terror. My question to you is, what were you trying to imply when you made those remarks?
It's an article. It's a remark that I wouldn't say blown out of proportion, but badly translated in Tamil. Tivravadam, Tivra Rasigan. These are words that you use for extreme. When you say that Tivra Kadal, which means extreme love. And Bayangaravadam is what we use. I was being careful. I thought Tivram is good enough to indicate that. But what I was talking about is the slow, martial and violent attitude that's creeping in to the Hindu fold. They were a peaceful lot, and the modern Hindus at least. And I was being critical of it, yes. And the Muslims had riots. The Christians have had it. The Hindus have fought against the Christians and against the Muslims. We know all that history. But isn't it time for us to be civil and move away from it? That's what I was writing in the article.
Are you saying that there's some sort of radicalization which is taking place in the Hindu community?
Yes, it is. And it's being facilitated by rhetoric.
Okay.
That's what I was against. And you see, even in the media, there's an unwritten rule that you're not supposed to name the community when they report A's community and another community had a thing and it ended in violence. One man called Abdul so-and-so and another man called Subramanya so-and-so has been arrested. You've already stated it, that hypocrisy has to be shed and we'll have to face the problem. Tell them that for the betterment of the nation, for Subhiksh, as we call it, for attaining a stronger country, we'll have to stop this attitude.
But why do you believe that this rhetoric has gained pace and acceptance both?
To an extent, because they believe that this is another way of establishing Hindu hegemony. There are so many other ways of showing your largeness. Why don't you start with the heart, a large heart, and accommodate it, make it an inclusive society than an exclusive Hindu society. I have nothing against the Hindu society. And I've also said in meetings, I didn't want to repeat it again and again. I said more than the Hindus who will sue me from Lucknow or Banaras, more than those, I'm worried about the Hindus in my family. There are elders who truly believe in the Sanatana Dharma. I have my sister, my late brother, and my bhabi, my sister-in-law, and my own daughter, They're all believers in God. I'll have to see to it that I don't hurt their sentiment when I write something. But at the same time, I'll have to have a dialogue with them and speak my mind.
Because a lot of people criticize you for saying that, you should have criticized Zakir Naik or something like that in the same breath.
Okay,
radicalization, which takes place in other communities.
I will criticize them also. They will not indulge in violence. They should not indulge in violence. Be it Christian, be it Muslims, be it Buddhists. I don't care what religion. I think that if you look into the deeper psyche of religion itself, it can never be that Christ or Nabi Muhammad Nabi Sahab or Buddha or any of them have anyway implied that violence is the only way. Constantly all the great books are talking about love, and we sort of selective choice of what is suitable for today's politics is not acceptable.
So thank you for making time for WION, and congratulations for a new journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.